So my name is John Smielski, and I welcome you to the June statewide call of the California Alliance for Community Energy. Our vision of the California Alliance for Community Energy is a community-based, democratized energy system which promotes affordable, resilient, local renewable energy resources, prioritizing low-income communities that have historically suffered inequitable access to essentials such as affordable energy and healthy community. And thank you for joining us this month. And our topic is Diablo Canyon, built on 13 false cracked pressure vessels. What could go wrong? Our presenters this month are Linda Seeley, Vice President and Spokesperson for the Mothers for Peace. And she's also a member of the Diablo Decommissioning Panel. And Diane Curran, their attorney. Diane is one of the country's leading environmental and nuclear safety advocates. She stopped unsafe nuclear projects that have won significant safety and environment protection measures before the U.S. Nuclear Regulatory Commission, the NRC, the federal courts, and on behalf of state and local governments, citizens groups, and individuals. Her areas of legal expertise are quite broad, including the Atomic Energy Act, the National Environment Policy Act, the Nuclear Waste Policy Act, the Safe Drinking Water Act, and the Natural Historic Preservation Act. So let's hear why keeping Diablo Canyon online might be a very bad idea now and for the future. So Linda and Diane, take it away.
Okay. Thank you, John, and thank you all for being here today. We have a slideshow for you. By the way, I'm Linda, and Diane is, well, you'll find out. There's Diane. And we are really grateful to you for inviting us to come here today because our interests are completely in alignment with your interests. And we're, in addition to wanting to shut down Diablo Canyon, we are looking into the near future where we can really have community-based energy, which is what we have to have if we're going to survive through these next really challenging years. This is, of course, our title. A little history about Mothers for Peace. We've been the legal intervener against everything having to do with safety at Diablo Canyon since 1973. We have a very functional board. We have a board of 8 people. We work very hard, and we have alliances with other groups who are in alignment with our desire to shut down Diablo Canyon. Notably, right now we're working with Friends of the Earth, the Environmental Working Group, the Environmental Defense Center in Santa Barbara. And we are looking for more members of our coalition because if we don't shut down Diablo now, they've applied for a 20-year license renewal, and we're not going to be able to shut it down if they go, because this is like the moment for shutting down Diablo Canyon. And as you know, it was supposed to shut down back in, Unit 1 was supposed to shut down this year on November 2nd. Unit 2 was supposed to shut down next year on August 25th. And Gavin Newsom torpedoed that very, it was an agreement that was made among environmental groups, not Mothers for Peace, but environmental groups, the union, PG&E, the governor's office, and one other entity that I can't remember. And it was lauded all over the country as like the finest example of how to shut a nuclear power plant down without causing disruption. And he pulled it out from under us 2 years, almost exactly 2 years ago. Diane, will you take over here?
Thanks, Linda.
Uh-huh.
I've been representing Mothers for Peace since the 1990s in various cases involving safety and security of Diablo Canyon. And I actually thought we weren't going to be working together anymore until SB 846 passed. And then we moved into high gear. As you can see on the slide, we have two basic legal prongs of our campaign to keep Diablo Canyon from continuing to operate. And I just want to back up for a minute and say, since the very beginning, Mothers for Peace has opposed construction and licensing of Diablo Canyon because of its location on earthquake faults, or so close to them. In the title of this talk, it says there's 13 earthquake faults. I think we're still counting. I'm going to get into the seismic concerns in a little bit, but the Mothers for Peace has, from the beginning, considered the proximity of this plant to significant earthquake faults to be an existential threat to public health and safety. And the information about seismic risks just continues to grow. In addition to that, we have the concerns about the pressure vessel, which holds the reactor core and keeps water on the core, that in an accident where cold water may be poured on the core to, if there's a leak of cooling water, that if it's sufficiently embrittled due to neutron bombardment over the years, it could shatter the same way that if you have an old piece of crockery and it's very hot and you pour cool water into it, sometimes it breaks on you. That's what we're talking about. So we have mounted a campaign on the safety front at several different levels. First, the NRC has been repeatedly granting extensions of time for inspection of the pressure vessel, such that it hasn't been inspected in 20 years. And we're all the way up to the Ninth Circuit Court of Appeals trying to get a hearing on those extensions. We opposed the NRC's grant of an exemption to PG&E from what's called the timely renewal rule that allows PG&E to operate past its 40-year limit and get protection from a federal doctrine called the timely renewal doctrine, as long as it takes to renew this license renewal application without any safety review of what are the unique risks posed by operating after 40 years with aging equipment. This is the first time the NRC has ever done anything like this for a nuclear plant. We see the NRC caving to pressure from PG&E and Governor Newsom over and over again. And on the safety front, so we've got cases, we're up in the Ninth Circuit on the timely renewal exemption. We're today filing a request for en banc review of the bad decision we got on that, which we think the court did not understand the serious issues that were involved. We're in the Ninth Circuit on the pressure vessel inspection issue. We have a seismic enforcement petition pending, a petition to shut down the reactor because of the unacceptable seismic risk. We have a petition to shut down the reactor because of the unacceptable risk to the pressure vessel. And we have petition to intervene in the license renewal proceeding. Separate from that, we are involved. Oh, Linda, just hold on for a second, okay? Because I'm still back at the.
Okay.
I'm back another one behind this one.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm still on that one.
Okay.
So you see the first blue writing up here is that's all our safety cases before the NRC and the federal court. Separately, we've brought cases, we were we participated in phase 1 of the PUC proceeding on the need for Diablo Canyon, and we're about to participate in phase 2 on the cost. Of course, the state is primarily concerned about the cost of continuing to operate Diablo Canyon. And we've seen a lot of, we've seen opposition by some members of the legislature. Actually passed a budget that excluded a significant amount of money, $400 million for PG&E, only to restore it to the budget. We think the economic issues are super important. They're important to all the taxpayers and ratepayers of California who are going to foot the bill for this crazy project. The stockholders have absolutely no liability. And the cost issues are related to safety, because if, in 2 ways, one is if PG&E has to upgrade these reactors in order to address seismic risks and pressure vessel embrittlement, this is phenomenally expensive stuff. And second, if there's an accident and there should be a release of radioactivity from the containment, well, we all know what it's costing to clean up the Fukushima site. It's astronomical, the cost. In the PUC, Linda will talk a little bit later on about our evidence in the PUC proceeding, the highest quality expertise, that there is no need for Diablo Canyon to address these summer blackouts, as the governor persuaded the legislature in seeking passage of the bill. So I am going to focus right now on the safety issues that we're raising. And then Linda was going to circle back to the PUC proceeding. But again, these are all related. Okay, so next slide, please, Linda. As I mentioned, we are in the Ninth Circuit on the exemption from the timely renewal rule. We're about to file a petition for rehearing on that. On the earthquake vulnerability, we have one of the best experts in the state, and I think in the country, on seismic risks, Dr. Peter Bird, who's professor emeritus of geology at UCLA. And, you know, I think we've all been focused up until now on the risk of an earthquake from the strike slip faults that they're basically out in the ocean and along the coastline right near the plant. But Linda, if you'll take me to the next slide. Go down a couple to the
there we go.
Yeah, here.
Let's go.
Yeah, back up one. Yeah. Okay. You know, you can see the shoreline fault there along the coast. That's in blue. But you also see some faults in green, just a little in from the coast and up above. These are faults, these are thrust faults in the Irish Hills. Dr. Bird thinks that these thrusts are being significantly overlooked. PG&E focuses only on the strike slip faults, which a strike slip fault moves horizontally. The plates move against each other sideways. A thrust fault involves one piece of the crust lying on top of the other. And when they move, the one on the bottom can move the one on the top up. And the ground motion can be much more serious and severe. In the beginning of 2024, in a place in Japan called the Noto Peninsula, there was a very serious earthquake on thrust faults that, according to Dr. Bird, are very similar to the thrust faults in the Irish Hills. They caused significant damage to buildings in the area, collapsing buildings. And what he's saying now, and he's saying it to the NRC, to the Independent Safety Committee, and he will say it to the Public Utilities Commission, is the movement on these thrust faults is so much stronger than PG&E has estimated that we are at risk of a serious earthquake. The risk is much higher than what the NRC considers acceptable for core damage frequency. This is a picture of what is the difference between a strike slip fault. You can see those I guess you'd say plates or pieces of the crust move against each other sideways. And then in a thrust fault, you have one piece is underneath the other, and the movement is quite different and can be much more dramatic. We are doing everything possible to get this across to anyone who will listen. To the NRC, we filed a request for a hearing. We filed a shutdown petition. We submitted this issue in the license renewal case. And in that case, we noted that the chairman of the NRC promised Senator Alex Padilla that the NRC would look at the earthquake risk from Diablo Canyon in the license renewal proceeding. We're going to try to hold him to that, which is really important because all of the NRC's rules for license renewal say they don't look at earthquake risk, except in the context of the environmental impact statement, in which they only have to talk about it. They don't have to do anything. And even in the act of talking about it, the NRC is refusing to address the issue of earthquake risk in the Irish Hills. We just think this is a huge issue. Here's another picture of how, like they call a blind thrust fault works, that you don't necessarily see this from the surface, but it could be a really serious earthquake. So going back just a few slides, Linda, I'd like to talk for a minute about the pressure vessel issue, which is, again, a very, very serious issue. Most pieces of equipment in a nuclear plant have a backup. Every safety system, every electrical system, every safety piping system, every valve that's safety related has an equivalent redundant component, all safety grade. If one train of the safety system goes down, then you got a backup. With a pressure vessel, this is the pot holding the core, and there's only one. There's no way to back it up. If the pressure vessel gets in trouble, then the whole plant is in trouble. And if you can't keep water on the core, then you have the China syndrome. The NRC knew when PG&E built the Diablo Canyon reactors in the 70s that Unit 1 had faulty material in the pressure vessel, too much copper, too much nickel. They're more vulnerable to embrittlement than other elements in the steel of a pressure vessel. And, most of us, if we thought we had a bum refrigerator, we might keep our eye on it and make sure that, when we went away, we'd have the neighbors look in on it. Well, PG&E's way of having the neighbors look in on the pressure vessel is supposedly to inspect it every 10 years. And instead of inspecting it every 10 years, or perhaps more frequently, as you might if you knew you had a problem vessel, they have consistently gotten exemptions from the two kinds of inspections that would tell them what is the condition of the pressure vessel. One is the testing specimens that are put in the pressure vessel for what they call upper shelf energy and fluence, and the other is ultrasound inspections of the beltline welds. We are doing our best to pressure the NRC to address these issues, but they have been allowing PG&E to kick this can down the road for so many years. What we see them doing is digging in their heels and not really dealing with a problem. I think this is a real issue in license renewal when you have an agency that's been really lax about enforcement for many years. And indeed, over the 6 years between 2016, when they decided to close these reactors, and 2022, when they decided to change course, PG&E wasn't planning to do any maintenance at all. They were just gonna let the plants, keep them in good enough shape to keep going until 2024 and not do some of these things that you would do to maintain them for license renewal. And now, we have an agency that's getting together with PG&E and trying to defend this lax oversight they've been doing for all these years. So these are the safety issues that we are raising in every way we can before the NRC. And I don't know where we are in these slides, Linda, but
Let's see here. We've looked at these.
oh,
Yeah,
okay.
here we go.
Other safety issues and environmental issues that are important to us and that are we're trying to raise in any way we can. First is the storage of high level spent fuel from these reactors. We know that if PG&E has applied for a 20-year license. If they are allowed to operate for 20 more years, they're going to fill up their fuel pools, which pose an very unacceptable hazard of a fire, which could cause cesium to go all over the state of California. Very dangerous. When PG&E was planning to shut down the reactors, the state had pressured them to put all the waste into dry storage, which, while we'd rather have it in a repository, is infinitely better than pool storage. Now, with this proposal to continue operating, we're going to have fuel piling up in the pools again. With Mothers for Peace has worked before with Dr. Gordon Thompson, who was the first person to tell the NRC, you have a fire risk, a serious fire risk, that the zirconium cladding in these pools is going to catch fire if they lose water, a partial loss of water. When he first said that, the NRC said he was crazy. And now they accept that he was right, except they have papered over the risk and it's very difficult to get at, but we're going to keep working at it. And then the other issue that we are trying to raise in the license renewal case is the issue of the impact on marine life. The PG&E was supposed to go to closed circuit cooling years ago, but of course they didn't because they were planning to shut the reactors. Now they're trying to continue operating them, causing massive damage to marine life off the coast. And we are working with the Environmental Defense Center to try to keep them from getting away with that in the period if they are allowed to continue operating. So I think that's, yeah. I think this is an amazing statement that the California Coastal Commission has called this once-through cooling system California's largest marine predator. Something needs to be done. And this changing to a closed circuit cooling system would be enormously expensive for PG&E. It would be much better to just stop operating these reactors than to spend all that money.
Okay, thank you, Diane. I want to, while Diane was talking, it reminded me that think about all of the safety issues that she's brought up. The idea of the reactor core, if it has to be shut down quickly and they pour cold water on it, it could shatter. The spent fuel pools, if there's a serious earthquake and they lost their water, they could self-ignite and cause an extraordinary amount of damage to the state of California and beyond, and the ocean and everything that's in the ocean. And then you think about, like, what if there were a terrible accident at a big solar farm? What would happen? Well, it would be bad. They'd have to clean it up, but it wouldn't affect the generations for time uh, an unprecedented amount of time into the future. The choices that we are making by supporting nuclear power are absolutely irresponsible to all of life. And so that's why Mothers for Peace keeps on going, because we know that this is not only morally wrong, it's so incredibly expensive. It's a misuse of our resources, of the people of California. And if somehow our legislature could understand that they have the power to redirect these funds into something that's not lethally dangerous for the world, if they could understand that and not be under Gavin Newsom's thumb, we could all come out ahead. I'm going to talk about the PUC now. As you know, in 2022, the PUC accepted, well, it was the state legislature under Gavin Newsom's heavy thumb that voted to keep Diablo Canyon running for another 5 years. And then PG&E went on to apply for a 20-year license renewal. So now the accepted reality is that this dangerous nuclear power plant is going to run for at least 5 more years. We are intervening in the phase 1 of the CPUC is finished. Now we're entering into phase 2, which is about, do we even need the power from Diablo Canyon? What PG&E has promulgated and other people are chattering about is, oh, if Diablo Canyon goes offline, we have an extreme heat event, we won't, we'll have brownouts and blackouts for maybe 5 minutes in the early evening. And I know Loretta Lynch is on this call right now, and she's done the most amazing and accurate analysis of what happened back in 2020 when we had the brownouts. And I hope that you all know about her analysis. This is a chart that was made by Mothers for Peace's energy expert, whose name is Rao Konadina. He was the director of the Midwest Independent Systems Operator, and now he's an independent consultant. And we asked him, because everybody is saying to us, well, if Diablo shuts down, we're going to have blackouts, brownouts, etc. And so we said, Rao, will you tell us? We didn't know if this is true. We wanted to get the truth. And Rao is basing his numbers on the PUC and California Energy Commission reliability planning assessment that came out in December of 2023. And as you can see on this chart, the CPUC is not even looking at the resources that we already have there, and I don't understand why. We probably have 4,800 megawatts of demand response in California right now. The CEC report, which, by the way, that this CEC report that the CPUC is relying on for its information for making these incredibly important decisions, the CEC report is only a staff report. It was never finalized. And they exclude so many resources that would support our stance that retiring Diablo Canyon by 2024, 25 makes sense. They assume that it's going to take 6 years for new resources to interconnect. But the new FERC regulatory reforms have been implemented at other grid operators that estimate 1 to 2 years for new resources to come out online. They guarantee Diablo Canyon by excluding over 10,000 megawatts of multiple renewable energy resources, which is so duplicitous of them. And they rely on this inflexible, they're defying the modernization of our grid by relying on this 24/7, although it isn't 24/7 because it's down so often. But they're assuming that Diablo Canyon is running 24/7. And so they really keep renewable resources from coming online because they're putting this dangerous kind of power into our grid. From the CEC website, it says from 2018 to 2023, battery storage capacity in California increased from 500 megawatts to more than 6,600 megawatts. And we're still going to have 1,900 more coming online by the end of 2023. And as I recall, probably you know this better than I do, that there is even more battery storage online now. So we're being hornswoggled on this thing. Whoops, where's my, okay. Okay, and this is about money, and you know about that this is, it's talk about, what was that movie about the people that bought the house and it just kept costing more and more? That's exactly what Diablo Canyon is. It's a beyond belief how much money it'll cost. Diane talked before about how they had all of these projects that they put on hold because back in 2016 because they thought they were going to shut down in 2022. And now that they're not shutting down, they have not given us a list of those deferred maintenance projects. They're covering those up very successfully. We don't need Diablo. Diablo needs to be shut down right now. We can't afford it in terms of money or in terms of risk. Now, we are involved, Mothers for Peace is involved in a campaign to stop Diablo. We're, as I said before, we're paired with the Environmental Working Group, Friends of the Earth, and the Environmental Defense Center, and we are looking for more allies. We have we are raising money. We have to raise $800,000 by the end of next year to pay for our court cases, and our expert witnesses and court costs, and that's about it. But it's really, really, really expensive to go to court and to hire these energy experts and safety experts. So we are looking for allies to work with us to help us get to our goal of $800,000. And mind you, we are all volunteers. We are not paid. And we're doing it out of love of place, or sense of responsibility to the future, and the deep belief that this nuclear renaissance has to be stopped. Diablo Canyon is symbolic all over the world, all over this country for sure, as a, if we could prove that California, with the fifth largest economy in the world, can run on renewable energy, then it could be an example, a shining example to the whole rest of the world. So we hope that you'll contact us at mothersforpeace.org, go to our website, and give us suggestions for allies, and for ways of disseminating this information to the general public who's been fooled by PG&E and the governor and everybody else. So anyway, I'm stopping our share and we're back. We have to step up and do what we can to stop this insanity. And look at what you're doing. This is you're trying to create a world where people can live safely and where people can have their, we can have electricity, we can have power as we need it. But you also, I think, are on the same wavelength with us in understanding that what we are doing now is leading to sheer destruction of our world. So we can't do that anymore. That we have finite resources in this world. We have to understand that. We can't expand over more and more and more. Where are we going to expand to? What's it going to be that we end up with? So this is like, you are a part of this enormous alliance of people who care about the world. And Mothers for Peace thanks you for that. And what we want to do is be with you to figure out how together we can make this a safe place for everyone. Okay, that's it. That's all we want. Thank you.
Okay. Well, thank you. I think we reached time. I want to thank both Linda and Diane. And someone requested that you put in the chat your email address, Linda, make it easier for people.
Sure.
But I really thank you for this important presentation. And you got to remember, they're doing all this to boil water, right? Crazy. There got to be better ways. And me, don't to boil the water. But I appreciate it. I walk on those thrust faults all the time in the Irish Hills, and I appreciate all your work and appreciate it. So I want to thank you all for participating. I really appreciate the presentation and all your work.
And thank you, Diane.
Thank you.
Thank you for watching this presentation from the California Alliance for Community Energy. This concludes the published portion of our monthly call. If you would like to participate in our monthly calls, including Q&A, please consider joining the California Alliance for Community Energy. For more information, you can see our website at cacommunityenergy.org/apply.